welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to tonight's huge event. Tonight we'll be joined by Billie Jean King, former #1 world tennis player and also an activist for equal pay and women's rights. Billie Jean King is one of the most successful tennis players of all time, winning 39 major titles and was part of the victorious US team in 7 Federation Cups and 9 Wightman Cups. King won the legendary Battle of the Sexes match against Bobby Riggs during her fight for the equal recognition of women's tennis. After King protested the gender pay gap, the US Open became the first major tournament to offer equal prize money. It gives me great pleasure and honor to welcome Billie Jean King in our chamber tonight. Thank you very much, Billie Jean. May I call you Billie or Billie Jean?
Billie Jean or Billie, that's all right. Okay. Just not BJ.
Billie Jean.
Can I call you Ahmad?
Yes.
All right.
Well, firstly, thank you very much for joining us. We've been trying for a while as a union to host you here.
Yes, about 3 years, finally. This has worked out.
Yeah, and
dates.
So many people have been messaging me that we're excited and waiting for, can't wait for Billie Jean King. And honestly, I didn't watch much tennis before, but in the recent sort of weeks, I've been learning more about it, and it's been very inspiring to learn about your journey and your career throughout your life. So I wanted to start the conversation by sort of firstly, when I was sort of doing my research, you were brought up in a very athletic household. So your mother, I believe, was a swimmer, your father played basketball and baseball, and your younger brother became a Major League Baseball pitcher. Apparently, even the church that you attended, the minister was also an athlete.
Yeah, he was Olympic champion in pole vault. He won 2 golds in I think, 52 and 56.
Yeah.
So yeah, Reverend Bob Richards is his name. He's,
okay.
Yeah.
So was that something that influenced you, did you feel a certain sort of pressure that, into going into sports or?
No pressure. That's why it all worked out for my brother and me. My parents never asked us if we won.
Yeah.
There's no pressure. You know how many parents go, did you win? Did you win? Did you win? No, they didn't care about that. They'd say, how was your day? And then, of course, if we had lost, oh my God. I mean, we're very motivated, very intense. So it got real crazy. I go, of course, I lost. I can't believe it. I'm going on. And my dad just goes, calm down, calm down. He asked me one question, did you try your best? I said, well, of course I tried my best. And he goes, that's good enough.
Yeah. No, because I believe, since they were also all athletes and sports people in some ways, perhaps they understood that it's a lot more about the fact that you're young and you're trying your best to sort of get out and sort of learn the sport and become better at it. You started at tennis at the age of 11, I believe you...
Yeah, it's very late. I played all team sports.
Yeah. And
then one day in primary school, Susan Williams asked me, do you want to play tennis? I go, what's tennis? She says, really? You don't know what it is? I said, I have no idea. What do you do? And she says, you get to run, jump, and hit a ball. I said, well, those are 3 of my favorite things in sports. Okay, I'll try. Yeah. So we went to a country club because her parents were well off. And my dad was a firefighter. So when I saw that, I go, there's no way I'm playing tennis. But we played that day and I really liked it. And then the first time I went out, they actually had a public park system in Long Beach, California. And we had free access to the courts and coaching. And at the end of the first day, I knew what I wanted to do with my life, that I wanted to be the #1 tennis player in the world. And I told my mom when she came to get me, and she goes, calm down, you have homework, you have this. I said, Mommy, you don't get it. This is it.
Yeah.
Now I'd say I found my destiny, but it was just part of the destiny. So fast forward 1 year, I'm playing to get a ranking now. That's how you get a ranking. And we're at the Los Angeles Tennis Club, and I was daydreaming. And I started to realize that everybody wore white shoes, white socks, white clothes, played with white tennis balls, and everybody who played was white. And I said, where's everybody else? Where is everybody else? This is ridiculous. So, and I thought about my sport. The one great thing about tennis and a few other sports, it's truly, truly global. We're talking, it is global. And I knew that was wonderful because I always wanted to travel. But then I visualized it as a platform, even though I didn't know the word platform then. But I visualized this is an opportunity. Yeah. So I made a promise to myself that year that I would fight for equality the rest of my life. And that's what put me on my real journey.
Yeah, because this happened to you at a very early age.
Mm-hmm.
Realizing and noticing that it's quite a difficult thing to sort of come across. Seeing that in a sport that that you're playing, there is no one really playing either. Not many women playing at the same level, but also no people of color being involved. Not many people of color involved. So I think that's quite inspiring. That this was sort of like the thing that inspired you. At what age did you have this realization? Was this about when you were still very young, at about 11, 12, or?
You mean what I realized about people of color?
Yeah.
Well, I know this is hard for this group to imagine, but television had just come out in the States, anyway, the United States, in the late 40s and early 50s. So I'm a child of the 50s. So all of us would go down to one of our neighbors to watch the television together because they were the only family that could afford one. And it was just fascinating. But I also saw some tough, terrible things in the Southeast where children of color, or they were called Negroes then, were not allowed to go and study with white children. And I remember asking my parents, what's going on here? Why can't they go study together? And my parents said, because it was a woman, a girl, and they said, because she's a Negro. And that was politically correct in that day. And I said, well, that's not right. And they said, well, is it? You're right, it's not right. But that's the way it is. So I think having that experience on a few occasions and just reading about it and just start thinking and asking questions, it was real easy to decide on fighting for equality the rest of my life. That was one of the easiest decisions I ever made.
No, absolutely. And earlier you mentioned in our conversation that because at that point a platform didn't exist, becoming #1 tennis player gave you the platform to sort of be able to advocate for this sort of thing as well, and sort of enabled you a bit more.
I knew as a girl that was a disadvantage, though. I knew that people listened to boys. I already knew I was a second-class citizen. I already knew girls of color had it much worse. People that were living with disabilities had it worse. I mean, I got that picture at 11. I don't know why or how, or 12, and I knew it. And it was just, I didn't like it. So, but I knew as a girl that I hopefully would be #1. Maybe people would listen to me, but they usually listen to men. Yeah. Men get a lot more attention, a lot more media. Just to go fast forward to now, 40% of professional athletes are women, and we only get 4% of the media. And that's why you don't know who we are.
Yeah.
If you don't see it, if you don't see them, if you don't read their stories, what makes an athlete exciting for people is their story as a human being, not how you hit a forehand or a backhand. What are they doing with their lives besides winning or losing tennis matches? That's not the essence of the person. So these are the things. I was pretty clear as a young person that I'd have to overcome those things.
Yeah. And also, one of the bigger things that you're known for is also the Battle of Sexes match with Bobby Riggs that you had, who was also considered one of the greatest of the game.
Yeah, he was a Hall of Fame. Well, yes, he was a great player. He won the Triple Crown at Wimbledon.
So what brought about, what I'm interested in is what brought about that game in the first place? How did inception begin? And also, what impact do you think it had on tennis after that?
It had a huge impact, but I want to quickly try to get you there because why did it matter and all that. In 1968, tennis became a professional sport. That's when we finally got a check. I used to get a 45-pound gift voucher when I won Wimbledon. 1968, we finally got a check. Rod Laver got 2,000 pounds. I got 750 pounds. I went, oh no, I got less. I can't believe it. 37.5%. Okay, that's going to be another fight later. I can't worry about that right now. So I was trying to get the men and women together as an association. I thought we should be together. I always want men and women to be together. That's my first want. They rejected us. We just got rejected and rejected all the time. So finally, 9 of us in 1970 signed a $1 contract with Gladys Hellman, who was the publisher of World Tennis Magazine. And we were willing to give up our careers and our everything for the next generations. And here are the 3 things. Number 1, we wanted any girl in this world, if she's good enough, would be able to compete, have a place to compete. Number 2, that we'd be appreciated for our accomplishments, not only our looks. And number 3, the most important to us, because we'd all lived on $14 a day for years, this group, is that you could make a living playing tennis. Okay, those are the 3 things. So we started a tour in 1971. So let's fast forward now to 73. This is when I played Bobby Riggs. We're only in our 3rd year of professional tennis, men and the women. It wasn't just the women. And we had 90 million people watch it. People got into it for weeks ahead of time. You have no idea. Fighting, discussing, emotional. And so we had 90 people all over the world watch it. And he, of course, said that he could beat me. But what had happened in May of that year is that he'd beaten Margaret Court, who was number 1 at the end of the year. Because I never wanted to play Bobby. But since Margaret lost and he won, I had to play him.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was crazed. Yeah. It was crazy. People were talking. No, you can't believe the bets that were going on. Like, the guys, like, I'll bring you coffee every morning. I have to make breakfast for the family. And then the women it was crazy, the bets. And all the colleges and universities were totally into it. With the fraternities and sororities were going crazy. Because they had about 6 weeks before the match. So when I beat him in straight sets, that was huge for social change. Because it made people, because they had to stop and think about a lot of things before the match. Then I beat him. And he's a lot older than me, and I kept saying he's my dad's age. Come on, it's not a big deal to beat him. Everybody said, he'll beat, she'll kill him. So that was really helpful. The very next day in the United States, you couldn't get on a tennis court. So I think that is the most important match to grow our sport. Yeah. And then it started, and other countries saw it as well. That's why it's so important. And it changed a lot. And we had Title IX had just been passed the year before in '72. And for the first time, if a school, like here, received federal funds, they, for the first time, had to spend it equally on men and women. Before that, there were quotas for the women. In fact, at Harvard, it was 5%, I think, at medical school. So that's why we had no women doctors and lawyers. That completely changed, but it's 37 words, and 1 word in there is activity as well. And the co-authors couldn't decide whether to leave it in or take it out. They left it in, thank God. Otherwise, there would be no athletic scholarships for women. Men had always had them. We had never had them. When I was at college, I had to work 2 jobs, and I thought I was living large. So it was an amazing difference. Yeah. That's why and that's why even people from here or any other country in the world can get a scholarship in their sport, is because of Title IX, if you're a woman. So it's good for women to understand that. Most of the time they don't. The coaches don't even know half the time. But that law is huge.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just, like that is probably one of the biggest events / tournaments in your life, a match. Do you have any other events that were perhaps was your favorite for some particular reason?
My favorite's team. I grew up in team sports. Basketball was my first love. I love team sports. So anytime I can play for my country, anytime I could play for a school, anything. I love team. I prefer team. I love mixed doubles the best, then women's, and then singles.
Oh, wow.
I know. Did I blow your question?
No, that's fine.
I goes, what?
No.
I mean, not winning singles at Wimbledon or something? No?
I mean, you've also had a very long and successful career, and the impediments you've had, the difficulties you faced, and you've been the person, sort of the breaking force in this industry, in this area. What kept you going throughout all of this? It must get very difficult when you're being rejected constantly, when you're not treated equally, when other people are being given thousands of pounds, when you're given a voucher of 45 pounds. Like, what keeps you at that point just going? That okay, like I can't go hopeless. This is just
Okay, first of all, don't take anything personally. I don't take things personally, and it works. Because you can't believe how much energy people spend on it. Don't spend any time on it. Because it's not about you, it's about the person who said it. They're the one that said something, and everyone's doing their best. Don't have to agree with everybody. But I always visualize and dream about what I want it to look like. Like I wanted professional tennis. Well, what did that look like? Or I wanted a tour. Well, the men rejected us, so I wanted a tour for the women. And what does that look like? What is whatever? And you want to grow the tour. You don't want it just to be in the United States. I always wanted it to be global, which it is now. It's all over the world. But I envisioned that when I was, we're first in it. And you keep trying to help. And of course, each generation has to do it. Yeah. Like all of you here are our future leaders. You're it. And you're probably already leading. You're leading. So I want you to think about that. Don't take anything personally, okay? That'll really help you in life. Don't do it.
Well, that's fantastic.
It just gets in the way.
But one of the things that I wanted to ask regarding the thing that I just completely escaped my mind was, I realized there was a movie about the Battle of Sexes.
Emma Stone.
Yes, Emma Stone portrayal of you. What do you think of that?
I thought she was amazing.
Do you think that portrayal was accurate?
You have to remember that movies are a story, and documentaries are usually more truthful. So it was just a small little part, but that's what they have to do. I mean, they only get 2 hours to tell a story. Some of it, the tennis part was excellent. I thought they did a great job. But I think the important thing to know too is I was trying to figure out my sexuality in the 70s, late 60s and 70s. That was the horrible thing for me, because people on the tour also said I had a lot of pressures outside, but more inside probably, that if I said anything about what I was feeling, that there wouldn't be a tour. No pressure. So that was there, plus just personally trying to figure things out. I was married to Larry. King is his name, that's why I still have King. And I told him I needed to get a divorce, and he wouldn't give me one. That's another challenge I had, because he didn't want to give me a divorce. But I eventually figured it out, and I was outed in 81, but I lost all my endorsements within 24 hours except one. So I lost everything. I had horrible letters. The sponsors just wrote, I should have kept the letters, I didn't, I threw them out. But they were shocking what they said, and what they said about me. And in the 70s and 60s, and kids today go, what's the big deal? It was a big deal. Now, there's celebrations. Like Jason Collins, who played in the NBA, he came out just before he retired. He got a call from President Obama. He had a job immediately in the NBA. It is totally the opposite of what it used to be.
Yeah.
So I think that's been, to be your authentic self, it depends on who you are and your journey. But for me, I would say that's the toughest journey I've had.
Yeah. Understandably so in the context of time as well, when you were sort of when you were starting your career, when you were in the midst of your career. But I think like some of the issues still exist around now. Increasingly now, recently there have been debates about transgender athletes.
Yes.
In different sports and in tennis. What is your opinion on that?
My opinion is, okay, that's another tough one. It's a great one though, is that I always want every person to get a chance to play. So we're talking about 99% of what we're talking about, that's what's going to happen. It's the 1% is what all the arguing is around. It's because if a transgender athlete wants to, let's say they're transgender, now they're female, and she wants to be on a team and she keeps winning, and of course there's a group of people who think it's just testosterone, then I've been talking to scientists and listening, and I keep trying to, I don't have a final, but you could put an extra person on the team. There's all kinds of ways to do this, but if they truly have an unfair advantage, I would still try to figure out how can everyone have a chance to play and figure that out. And there's ways to do it. I don't know how perfect it is, but we do have to address it and continue to address it. And I don't think testosterone is quite enough, because I know there's 2 people, men in the Olympics that won gold medals, that their testosterone was so low that they would be considered a female with their level of testosterone, but they're men and they won a gold. So, and that's never come out, and I don't know who they are, so I can tell you. But so it's not that easy. But we've got, what a lot of these laws are doing in the States is they're keeping like a 12-year-old from playing recreational sports. I'm sorry, I can't. Yeah. I can't. I think they should be able to play.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And
so I don't have the final answer, but some
absolutely.
groups do. They think they know, and they do it on testosterone only.
Yeah. So last one of the more sort of serious questions was that, because there were a lot of issues around that time, and some of those still spill on to today. Sort of the issue of, for example, in 1971, when Roe v. Wade was being argued in the Supreme Court, you had around that time a sort of
I had an abortion.
Which was revealed by your husband. And
well, he shouldn't have done that either, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
But yes, I did.
Yeah.
I write about it in my book.
And it's being debated today again.
It's terrible.
Yeah. A lot of these changes, I feel like, have been, we're going backwards in some of these.
Well, that's if you look at politics, if you look at everything, it goes. That's why the more you know about history, the more you know about yourself. But more importantly, it helps you shape the future. And that's who you guys are. The more you know about history, the more you know about yourself. And it helps you shape the future. The reason I was able to be a leader in tennis is because I knew all the history of tennis from the 1800s. I knew, and also my former husband Larry and I owned tournaments. And when you're on the other side, when you're putting up the money, you learn what sponsors want. Yeah. Players just want more. I want more money. I want better hotels. I want more. It doesn't work like that. So the one thing that helped me the most in being in a leadership position is understanding each person's what their wants were. Yeah. And that's really important to understand that with each person I listen to and talk to and ask questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, sort of like the sport in general, for women particularly, tennis has advanced. There is a lot of commercialization of the sport. So what I wanted to ask was, do you see any concern with this commercialization of the sport, particularly women in tennis, as Emma Raducanu came to the Wimbledon with very expensive sort of Tiffany earrings, and people raised concerns regarding that, that there is sort of some commercial aspect sort of ruining the sport. What is your view on that?
I love it. I love money, and women are taught not to follow the money. Yeah. All you women, follow the money. Men do much better. Because with money, you can do great things. She's earned it. That goes back, every time a woman gets any money in tennis, it goes back to 1970 and the day we formed the original 9. They are living our dream. Our dream was what? Compete, make money. I'll give you an idea. You know that what we did, we had hardly anything, but Serena Williams made almost $100 million on the court, hundreds of millions off the court, but she has an investment company, Serena Investments, that she's going to give back and try to help women, and particularly women of color. So I think it's great, because if she didn't have that money like our generation, we couldn't have the privilege of doing that. So I love it. I love it when people make money. It's what you do with it that matters. And I'm telling you, it helps you help others. And I'm big on it. Yeah. No, I think it's great. I think it's great she had earrings. I mean, come on. She won the U.S. Open, didn't lose a set.
Yeah.
The only thing that people were concerned with is she hadn't really earned it. And I'm like, yes, she did. Those 2 weeks, she did. It's called forget it, onward.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know, and she spoke so great in the finals. She had everyone mesmerized for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
No, we had standing room only for women. Everybody goes, we can't sell tickets, we can't do this. You know, everyone's always trying to tell us what we can't do. Boy, what a day.
Yeah. So, do you have any? One thing that is particular to you is like your experience from your perspective on throughout your career. Do you have a favorite anecdote from your career where you had sort of an interesting interaction / an interesting anecdote of a match or a tournament?
Well, I love being around Muhammad Ali. I'm sure you know that name. I'll tell you a difference though, because he and I were about the same age. We were about the same age. And they had more about him and what a great athlete he is and all these great things. And then when I played Riggs, Howard Cosell, this is what happened to women. Howard Cosell only talked about my looks when they had me coming out for the match. With Bobby Riggs, they talked about he's Hall of Fame, he won Wimbledon. Not once did they talk about my accomplishments. Do you know how irritating that is? So anyway, it's very irritating. And Muhammad Ali and I would talk, because I just love this guy. He's one of my favorite people ever. And we talked about you never know how another person's going to touch your life or how you're going to touch theirs. You never know how another person's going to touch your life, how you're going to touch theirs. And so we talk about being alert as you go through the day, as you go through every experience you go through. Stay in the now, stay with the person, be attentive. Also, you'll do better in your studies when you really are attentive. You know? Never mind. Stay in the now. In the now is how you're in the zone. In sports, we talk about it all the time, in the present. And when you're taking a test, when you're listening to someone, or whatever, if you can stay with them and stay with yourself, you will have the best results that you can do that day. And it's really important to do that daily.
Yeah.
But anyway, you're ready for the next question.
No,
I can tell.
I'm done.
You're killing me.
Thank you very much. I've really,
You're so
I really
funny.
enjoyed my the interactions before this interview as well. With
Yeah,
yourself.
we had fun.
And learning about yourself. It's been very inspiring. But I think it would be better for me to move the questions now to the floor because there are a lot of people who are big fans of yours that are here. So firstly, thank you very much for answering my question as well. And we'll now open to the floor for questions.
I do have a couple of things, but go ahead.
Yeah. We can...
Do you want me?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we can go to the questions afterwards.
All right, I'll just say this. We never understand inclusion unless we've been excluded. We never understand inclusion unless we've been excluded. And I can't believe how many people who basically have never been excluded are telling us about this sometimes. I'm like, squeeze me? You know. So I think that may help you. And there's 3 things, I can do it at the very end if you'd like, but there's 3 things I think it might help you in your life. And you're very young, and this might help you every single day. And they don't have to be in this order. And a friend of mine, Ed Willard, who is president and CEO of DuPont, he and I would talk about this for 3 years. We talked about it. And we talked about inner success and outer success. What do the people look like? Who are they that have both? And we kept looking and talking. Oh, that guy or this girl. I think maybe they're happy and they're doing really well. Here are the 3 things. Relationships are everything. With yourself, you can figure it out. You're smart, you guys. That's why you're here. Relationships are everything. With yourself, your loved ones, just as you go through the day, relationships are everything. Think about what's important with you, your friends, your family, your teammate, or whatever. Number 2, keep learning. It's perfect for you guys. Keep learning and keep learning how to learn. Keep learning and keep learning how to learn. And the 3rd one is be a problem solver and an innovator. And as a jock, as an athlete, all you're doing is problem solving the whole match. That's all we're doing is problem solving. Okay? Just when you're playing, just think about that. And love it. Love the challenge of solving the problem. And it's fantastic. And then, of course, we found that people, if you can be innovative, particularly today, how fast things are going with technology and everything. I mean, your generation and the next generations, things are happening so fast that really, I hope that second one helps you to keep learning how to learn. Because it's lickety-split now. In my day, it would be like a snail crawling. You guys were thinking, oh my, can you believe you'd be going, oh, can you believe this? Anyway, those three things I think can help you in life every day.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, first of all.
That's right.
We will open to the floor for some questions now to see what the members want to
Okay,
ask.
you know I'm dying to ask him questions, don't you? Go ahead, you're the boss.
The member right at the front there. Yes, the blue jumper.
Hi. Yeah, there's a few of us from the tennis club tonight.
Yeah,
and,
I met the women's tennis team. I didn't see any of the guys.
No,
I was a little upset.
As women, I think
want
we
both.
take for granted quite often the opportunity to go to training tonight and the matches, and that's all due to the work that you've done. So I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of everyone, all the women in the tennis club. My question's on the all-white clothing rule at Wimbledon and at some other elite country clubs and tennis clubs. And I think the all-white tennis clothing rule sometimes causes a lot of worries for people, especially if they're on their period. So what's your thoughts on this? Do you think this tradition should continue?
Could you please...
Did you hear exactly? I didn't hear exactly. What's the question?
Do you think the all-white clothing rule should
I can't
continue?
stand all white. When we started the women's tour, is that what you're asking about all white clothes?
Yeah, in Wimbledon.
Oh, during your period or what? Which one? Well, I mean, no, we have everything. I can talk about.
Do you think they should continue
To wear all white? Absolutely not. We had all white when I started to play, and one of the things that the women wanted to do was to change that. We fought like crazy with the Wimbledon committees. We got it up to 51% had to be predominantly white, so we could have color. If you look at in the 70s, we had color on our dresses and added. We liked it, and we want to have more authenticity of what the person might like and design. And I mean, I love design and fashion and all that. It's like, please let each person have what they want. If it's doubles, I think they should wear the same colors, or, well, it's all white, you're right. But, oh God, I can't stand it. And so I think we should have, and I think the name should be on the back. Every time you turn on a match, you go, who's that? I don't know who they are. I'd have numbers. I'd have a name, a number, but I come from basketball, and I would never let an umpire tell him to be quiet. I can't stand that.
Yeah.
I don't like it. No, I think it's about the fans that matter. The players are there for the audience. For some reason, athletes think, oh, they're here for me. No, we're entertainers. Our job is to make you happy. I don't know why athletes don't understand that. We're entertainers first. And our job is to make those people, when they go home at night, go, wow, I want to go back. In fact, I think I'll start tennis. Or I used to play. I think I'm going to take it up again. Tennis was Mayo Clinic in the U.S. did a research. Tennis is the healthiest sport. That's another gift. It's the healthiest sport. And we live almost 10 years longer than average if you play. Not when you're young. You got to play as you go older too, but no, if you're older, particularly if you play, it really helps.
Yeah, no, thank you.
I'm sorry, I get a little wound up here.
No, that's perfect. For other questions, the member right over there. Yes. Just shout it out, but please be louder.
Right here, or there.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hello, Ms. King.
Hi.
Thank you so much for everything you've done for women's sports and beyond. And I'm wondering, in America, do you think we're going about any of our current movements for equality in the wrong way, or would you recommend that we take a different sort of approach toward the issues we face today?
My prayer is that, I know it probably will never happen, because usually race comes first, and gender's later. But if you take all women, and I wish the men were with us, all you guys that believe in us as much. If we started together, would boycott things, would do whatever we need to do, would change everything. If you even look at sporting events, I mean, make it easy. Half the audience, or 45% of the audience is usually, and these are men's sports I'm talking about, are women. And what if they didn't buy a ticket? I also think corporations should, I'm going to start probably doing it because I don't care, I'm old now, I don't care what they do, is that I want to challenge corporations that, are you spending as much on women's sports as you do men's sports? And if you don't, we're going to let the world know it. And if the women who are the buyers of this world would get their act together and realize how much power we really have, we're half the population, just like if guys all did something. They're half the population. I would like us all to be together, but whoever is the underdog, we need to make it different. And we together could change the world. Now, when we talk about race, usually what people think of is they think about the race first, particularly women. And I totally understand. I listen to my black friends and Hispanic friends and all that. But I go, but you're only, like in the States, you're only like 14%. But if we're all together, then we're at least 50. And I'd like somebody, we could be more than 50%. That's when things start to change. Because you have purchasing power, you have power. And that's why money is important, by the way. So I've visualized this most of my life that we spend so much money, we're so powerful, we show up, we always support, and yet we're not equal. So, yeah, I want to change things, don't you? Come on.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I know you probably think I'm crazy. I'd like a person of color here to tell me if that's a bad idea. Here you go, you're a person of color. Would you tell me, is that horrible what I just said? Yeah, you or any of you, together as a team, I don't care. No, seriously. No, wait, I'm serious. Do you think that's horrible the way I think? Or,
I think there's also the question of this intersectionality.
yes.
There is, their identity as women, but there's also some nuances within feminism. So, there's the idea of white feminism being sort of slightly more nuanced than black feminism, Asian feminism.
I don't mean black, I mean women, not white women. Okay, whoever. Or all of us, but do you think it's a bad idea to have all of us together?
No, we should all be together. Why not?
We're much more powerful. I just use the black as an example, not every. Everybody. We could use an Asian. We can use.
Yeah.
If they go race first, I think we should go together.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a very well-intentioned thing in that your whole life has been, in a way, sort of a struggle for equality on every level. As you said earlier, that when I joined the sport, I asked the question, where is everyone? And I think that sort of encompasses how your goal has been for the most part of your career. To champion this sort of equality, and not just in the sport, but on a general level, send a message of sort of, that people aren't, this is because of the societal impediments that women are left behind, not because of some inherent disadvantage.
Just like I think men should get paternity leave.
Yeah.
Why not? It's important to babies to have the men around, I think. I think it's huge.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for the question as well. Any other question? The member right over here, please. Yes.
Am I getting too heated here? Am I getting too heated?
No, it's fine.
I don't care. Can you open it?
I'll
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Go ahead.
I've played tennis since quite a young age, and more recently I've been coaching. And one thing I've noticed through both playing and coaching is that when girls start to reach the age of about 12, 13, they often tend to drop out of tennis or just sport in general. Have you got any advice in terms of trying to encourage girls to continue playing? Not necessarily on a competitive level, but more just
it's exercise.
Social and health and that kind of thing.
Yeah, we've done research on that. The Women's Sports Foundation, which I founded in 1974, has done a lot about that. And one of the things we try to do, because girls are all about relationships. Have you noticed on a team and everything? It's all about relationships. And it's really important to because they like their friendship, is a way to keep them in it. And we try to get them in groups sometimes and just to stay in it. And we talk to them about not dropping out and why is so important. Culturally, we don't have the psyche or the support the guys have always had through the years. I mean, so but that's where you as a coach can make a huge difference. Huge difference. We need more women coaches. Women should be coaching men. That's why I love Andy Murray. You know who that is, maybe? Anyway, he's fantastic because he believes in equality, and he gets upset because his mother coached him. Judy she's a force for play. She worries about play, not tennis, but tennis obviously will try to get him in eventually because it's a lifetime sport, which I think is why it's been great for me. But it's not easy, but that's where people are so important, and that's where you as a coach are vital, that you can help them.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. We'll choose a few more questions.
I love it. But you guys, you're teaching me. I love it.
The member on the front row there, please. Oh, the second row, sorry.
Thank you very much. My question is going to be related to what you talk about in terms of inclusion and exclusion.
Could you please speak louder?
I can't understand one thing.
No.
What's wrong with me?
Sorry, can you hear me? Oh.
No, it's not you. I think it's the acoustics.
No, my question is about kind of what's your thought on the inclusion and exclusion of Russian players in tennis, and if you have any view on that.
The inclusion of
You're talking about tennis now?
Russian players.
The Russians will actually, it's interesting, Djokovic has now been okayed. I know he's not Russian, he's Serbian, but he's going to be able to play the Australian now. So I'm wondering if that's going to open up for the Russians. Is that what you're asking? Like when they played Wimbledon and didn't get any points? I personally would include them because that's when I founded the WTA in 1973. One of the big things is we always want everyone to have a chance to play as well. That's, of course, my philosophy, but we do feel that way very strongly, and so I would not keep the Russians out. I would let them play.
Yeah, absolutely. The member at the back, Liz. Thank you.
How do you know? God, I wouldn't know who to choose. Hello.
My question is, what do you think about the diversity in tennis today in terms of both the progress that's been made and also what you think needs to be done going forward?
For diversity?
Yeah.
In tennis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we started the tour, we only had mostly white girls. And one of the things I talked to Gladys Hellman, you know that person I had the $1 contract with? I went to her and I said, if we're going to have diversity, we've got to let people in. We've got to go find them. And we had 3 black women who I thought, and if they do play with us, they've got to be good enough that they're not embarrassed, that they look good, they're competitive. And that wasn't easy. So we went to the American Tennis Association, which is a black association that was formed in 1916, so they'd have their own. And of course, they let everybody play in their tournaments. They taught us a lesson. So we got 3 women on the tour, and that's where things started for us, because at least there's visibility and they were good enough to play, which is really important. We want them to look good. We never want to put them in a bad place. So that wasn't easy because some places did not want them, and that was really easy for me. I went to the tournament desk and said, if you don't take care of them properly, just like us, I will tell every player we're not going to play. And they said, really? I said, yes. They're us. We're all together. So they did take care of them. I'm still in touch with these 3 players, by the way. Bonnie Logan was the first black woman to play on our tour. She's still going strong, all 3 of them. And Ann Koger. So it's Sylvia Hooks. So all these kids are good, but that's why we have Serena and Venus. But I want to tell you about my shero, and that's Althea Gibson. When I was 13, I saw her play, and if you can see it, you can be it. But when you say, I want to be number one, what does that mean, really? So I saw Althea Gibson, and she was the first black player ever to win a major. And blacks were not allowed to play in the big tournaments until 1950. So when I saw her, I was 13, so I knew what number one looked like. I went, oh, that's how good I'm going to have to be. In fact, I'm going to have to be better than that because my parents taught me that every generation is better. And you know what? They're right. You guys are better than my generation, or, because of all the things that happen. So anyway, seeing her, and then of course I read her book. I slept with it. I mean, I'm terrible. I sleep with all these tennis books, but she was my first shero in the sport, and she happened to be black. I just thought of her as number one. Of course I knew she was black, but she was number one. That's what I cared about. And she was huge. Without her, there never would have been an Arthur Ashe. There never would have been about 3 women that are on the tour. There never would have been a Zena Garrison. There never would have been all these blacks. There never, Serena and Venus, ba-bang. So, I don't know if you know any of these names, but yeah. Serena and Venus have transcended our sport. They're just great.
So you think it's, at the moment, the diversity as it is, do you think it's come quite a long way, or
it's
is
come,
this thing quite
I wouldn't say
a way to go?
It's come along, but some countries have very few people of color. I mean, if you go to Scandinavia, if you go to certain, there aren't. So that's why sometimes you think, why in that country don't you have more? So you have to analyze each situation to know what's right. But yes, we're all human beings. We all bleed red. It's just so obvious that we have to work together and be together and figure it out. And also, I always encourage young people particularly to talk to someone who's not like them. Because the natural tendency is like speaks to like. Probably if you look around here, you're all together, the likes the like, okay? We just do it. And I try to be really aware when I do that make a point not to always be with like speaks to like.
Yeah.
Because, it's comfortable when you're really down and out and you really want to be just comfy, go for it. But I don't know. I think it's more fun to have different friends that come from different places. And I don't know, it's more exciting to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's why I want to ask you questions the whole night. I'm like, let's talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've probably heard you, though, haven't they?
Sorry?
Have they heard your story and everything?
I presume so.
I don't know. No, but you're so full of courage, and what you've been through for a young person, I can never imagine. And that's why I want to ask questions. Like, to understand what you've been through and why you do want to make the world a better place, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
How are you going to do that? I know how you're doing it. Do education, what are you doing?
Yeah, so, well, I mean, people want to hear more about yourself.
That's okay. They're hearing from me. It's enough. No, but you do want to help the world to be a better place through
absolutely
education and something else.
Yes, and sort of overcoming, I think especially in more deprived areas of the world, where there is sort of the lack of opportunities in general / recognition of these people, and I think sort of putting that, especially in regards to refugees, I think that's very important. That is something that I'm passionate about and have been working on, because people are put at a disadvantage because of external factors out of their hand, and I think it's our responsibility, people in more privileged position, to be able to do something about it. But that is,
I agree.
Yeah.
No, but every single human being wants representation. Every single human being wants representation.
Yeah.
Pretty obvious, isn't it? That's why it's important having compassion for others. Empathy is a huge, important factor they've learned in leadership. That leaders with empathy do a much better job than leaders who don't. And we've got a lot of leaders, I think, that have no empathy. They're narcissists. So that's a whole nother, I can really get into that, yeah. But no, it's just, anyway, I want to thank you because I know that you're just getting started, you're young, And I hope things go well.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure, such an honor to have this from yourself as well. But we'll have, I think that would be probably enough for the questions, but also just any last remarks from you, any message that you want to leave tonight with the young tennis players that are here, / young people who've looked up to you, who sort of admire you for what you've done throughout your life. Any message that you'll leave them with that they should follow throughout?
I think there's been a few, I hope.
Yeah, of
Haven't there
course.
been enough? I mean, the one thing I think it's important is to dream it and build it. Dream it, build it. And go for it. It may or may not happen. You'll have a different dream and you'll go for it. You know, I don't think of losing so much as a failure. I think it is feedback in life. You know, when I hit a ball and it goes in, that's feedback. When I hit a ball out, that's feedback. Everything's feedback. But I want you to know your strengths. You know what everybody talks about is practicing our weaknesses? All champions practice their strengths every day. And we make the weaker shots more, we try to get them to be adequate, that it'll still do the trick when you're under the pressure of winning. But what makes great champions usually in sports and in other things is that they know their strengths. So know your strengths and hold on to them and practice them every single day. It doesn't matter what field of endeavor you're in. If you think about these things, it relates to whatever we do. And just keep learning. Those 3 things I gave you, I think, are major.
Yeah.
And not taking things personally. And understanding what real inclusion really is. Loving others, being good to others. And don't take things personally. When they start getting horrible, hang in there. And if you think you're in danger, get out of there. I mean, just, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, just, you have, and if you're going to talk to somebody, you better know if you trust them. That's another, just be careful.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Honestly.
Oh,
Thank
be
you.
careful. Ron, what else is there? What? Come up to me. What? Thank you. Everyone, this is my better half. Ilana Kloss. She's my wife. No, we've been together 43 years. So we're still, hi. And I'm not done yet. I'm not. Till my last breath, we're going to keep working for this, okay?
Yeah.